Hi, I'm David, and this is a 5.4 liter 2000 Ford F150, and the starter says some starter problems. A couple times this winter it failed to turn over at all for me, and I had a partner, along with a partner, I tapped on the solenoid on the starter and got it to go. So in this video I'm going to, with the starter already out, test it, build the starter and the solenoid, and then install a new solenoid. I have a video that shows the original disassembly of this truck, so you can refer to that one if you're stripping the starter out, but this one doesn't include that. It does, though, at the end include a section, a part 2, where I put the starter back into the truck. So I hope you enjoy it. Thanks for watching.
Okay, so I'm going to test this starter. Now what I've done is I've wired it up for temporary testing. This wire right here, the red wire, goes from the positive terminal down to a switch here, and then it's wired into the 10 millimeter terminal on the starter, which is the solenoid start signal. And of course the positive from the battery is hooked up right here to this larger terminal on the solenoid. That'd be your B plus or 12 volts. And then the ground over here, the negative on the battery, hooked up to the casing on the starter. So with this setup we can test this out, cycle it a few times. I said I have a little toggle switch here, and I'm going to turn on and off in order to energize the solenoid. Okay, I have a meter hooked up here to verify that I'm getting my 12 volts to the solenoid. And it's not doing a thing. Taking a few taps on this, and turn it on. Okay, now it went. Okay, we're going to try to run the entire starter now. So I have the DC, or the 12 volt B plus hooked up now to the terminal. So the rest of the starter does look okay. So the solenoid here, which I've checked online, about $30 versus $130 for the whole starter. So I'm willing to do a little bit of extra work and change out that solenoid. Okay, first thing we're going to do is unwire this terminal. It's 13 millimeter.
This is the switch terminal, and it closes when the solenoid plunger pulls in all the way, hitting end of travel. And what it switches is at 12 volts, at main power to the starter main windings to turn the starter motor itself.
Okay, now with an impact screwdriver, of course if you're fortunate enough to have an impact power tool, that'll work. It's got it set up with a big screwdriver bit in there. Give it a couple taps. Okay, that one's out. Okay, that one's turning. Okay, those are retentive. Okay, it did pull out. The movement on this seems okay. I mean, obviously there's something wrong with it. Here you can see the pinion gear action. And that's pretty free too. so this will fit in when it goes in on the other side of it. As you can see in here, you can see how this will just seat between the forks. Okay, just a way to test the solenoid by itself. Hook up an ohmmeter to it. Put it across the two terminals, the 12 volts in and the switch terminal. And with your meter hooked up, the plunger's now out, so we have an open circuit. When the plunger comes in, when the solenoid's energized, it closes. Right at the very end of travel, you should get a low ohm rating, switching that 12 volts over to the starter windings and starting the truck. Just a little by the way, another little test you can do on these things, because the internal switch could go bad in here as well. It's another potential issue with the solenoid. Now for our replacement part. This came from Napa. Eklund part, $27. Part number ST421. The other one, the original one, had a little dust cover on it.
I'll transfer this little cover to keep out dust and mostly moisture from the new solenoid.
Now as this is going back together, bear in mind that to get it oriented right, pull the pinion out, that brings the fork out. If you pull the pinion out, that'll bring the fork out. And now you can get it in place. And then rotate it. You can slip that on now. We're lined up. And the other side. Okay, them turned in all the way. Now I'm just going to turn my tool around. It's got a left-right on it. So now we're going to be tightening it. As we tap it, I'm just going to tap this several times. Just want to make sure that you can't just turn it in finger tight, of course. Okay, that should do it. We'll wire up the main terminal again. Torque that down. Be ready to mount it. I have the new solenoid mounted. And I'm going to test this anyway before I put it in the truck, as long as I have everything set up here. I've added one thing for a more secure ground. I put a stud on here to grab onto, a nut and bolt anyway, to grab onto the casing on the starter. So I was having some sparking before when it fired up. So we're going to test this a few times, just make sure we don't have any problems. Looks like everything's going to be okay. That's an outsourced part. You can't find anything made the American way as far as automotive parts, it seems like, anymore. So I'd rather test it before it goes on there. Make sure it's okay. Looks good. Time to mount it.